ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu, Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasati, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you all very much for joining. We have with us here Divya, Auntie Neeta, Dipti Adnani, Disha Melwani, Durga Prasad, Joli Nandwani, Karuna Jadwani, Pushbu, Lal and Mehak, Manju, N.C. Venkatchari, Neha Chatlani, then my parents are there. Then we have Ritu Lalwani, Saket, and Venkatesh A. So in the previous class, we completed chapter number 11. We saw how Arjuna was very disturbed seeing the universal form and how later he requested Krishna to show the four-handed form and then the two-handed form. So we saw how the two-handed form is Saumya Rupa and how Krishna says that the two-handed form that Krishna is, that Arjuna is seeing is very, very difficult to behold. And even the Devatas are always seeking the opportunity to see that two-handed form of Krishna. So the two-handed form is the most superior form. Krishna in Goloka is residing in the two-handed form, eternally as a 16-year-old boy. and his activities are that of a simple cowherd boy. God is a simple cowherd boy, and who performs pastimes in order to attract the devotees, so that the devotees can feel attraction to him and want to remain with him. No, and those who are here in the material world also, when Krishna descends, he performs his leelas. That's why Krishna is called as Leela Purushottam. Nobody can surpass Krishna in his Leelas. So Krishna is Leela Purushottam. Lord Ram is Maryada Purushottam. He perfectly executed the rules and regulations. And Lord Krishna is Leela Purushottam. So if you see right from his appearance up to his disappearance, the Leelas of Krishna are unparalleled. Why? Because he wants to attract his devotees. He wants to attract, in fact, all the living entities to go back home, back to Godhead. So after Krishna is glorifying the two-handed form, he concludes the chapter by telling how we can understand Krishna in that two-handed form. How? Only by undivided devotional service, only by pure bhakti, only by ananya bhakti. No other way can be used in order to understand Krishna. There are so many things, no, charity, like here Krishna mentions. Where was that verse? Here. There are so many ways, no, studying the Vedas, undergoing serious penances, charity, or worship. But Krishna says that you cannot understand me by all these methods. The only way is by undivided devotional service. Bhakti, but pure bhakti. Bhakti should not be mixed with any other concept. And then Krishna ends the chapter by giving the 5 very, very powerful, potent instructions. What does Krishna say? My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So these are the 5 very, very potent instructions with which Krishna is ending chapter number 11. Now that Krishna has glorified bhakti in these last verses, that is the connecting link with the next chapter, chapter number 12, which is titled Devotional Service, Bhakti Yoga. Here, this chapter deals with pure bhakti. It has only 20 verses. And along with the 15th chapter, it's the shortest chapter. Chapter 12 and chapter 15 are the 2 shortest chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So we will see this today, and we'll see how far we can go. Does anybody have any question before we start today's class? Who can read today?
I can read, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Harman. Okay, so as we said, chapter 12, titled Devotional Service, it has a total of 20 shlokas. But of course, as usual, before we start the chapter, we need to understand what are the benefits of reading, reciting, learning, hearing this particular chapter. So these stories, as we have said before, not stories, but histories, are from the Padma Purana, which is a conversation between Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. And then this same thing is repeated by Lord Shiva to Goddess Parvati in the Gita Mahatmya. Okay, so the history goes that there was a king called Brihadrathi who died. The thing is, when he died, or rather before he died, he was doing an Ashwamedha Yagya. But he was not able to complete that Yagya before he passed away. In between himself, he left the body. Now, Brihadrathi had a very, very handsome, good-looking son, the prince, and he wanted to fulfill the desire of his father by completing that Yagya, by completing that sacrifice. So what he did was, meanwhile, he preserved his body. It is described as in pure boiled oil. Now, what is pure boiled oil? I do not know. but it's described that he preserved his body in pure boiled oil. And he wanted to finish the yagya. But then it so happened that the horse was stolen. Now, the horse is the chief component of an Ashwamedha yagya. The word Ashwa itself means horse. So, without the horse, you cannot complete that Ashwamedha yagya. So, the horse itself was stolen. So, now he wanted to resolve the problem. So, he goes to a place in Maharashtra called Kolhapur. And in Kolhapur, there is a lake called Manikant Tirth. And he bathed in that lake and went to a temple of Mahalakshmi. And then he prayed to Mahalakshmi that please help me find the horse and complete the yagya so that I can fulfill the desire of my father. Now, Goddess Mahalakshmi was pleased with him, and she spoke to him and told him that by the gate of my temple there lives a very highly elevated Brahmana, and his name is Siddha Samadhi. And she says that you go to Siddha Samadhi, he will be able to fulfill your desires. So the prince now goes to Siddha Samadhi, and Siddha Samadhi already knew that such a person is going to come to me for such a purpose. And he tells him that you have been sent here by Mother Mahalakshmi, so therefore I will fulfill your desire. Then Siddha Samadhi chanted some mantras and he brought all the devatas before him. He brings all the demigods before him, and then he tells them that, "Oh devas, this prince's horse has been stolen at night by Lord Indra. Kindly bring the horse back now." So immediately the devatas, they bring the horse back, and after that they left. Now the prince inquires from Siddha Samadhi, "Wherefrom have you acquired such power, such potency, of which I have never heard of before?" Imagine, he was able to bring all the devatas before him, and at that time the devatas were waiting for Siddha Samadhi to say what is it that he requires. No? So he asked him that, "How did you get such power, such potency? And I've never seen or heard this before." And then he says that, "I have a request also, please oblige." So what is the request? He says that my father passed away suddenly, leaving the yagya incomplete, and I have preserved his body. Can you bring him back to life? So Siddha Samadhi says, "Okay, take me to the place where your father's body is." So when they reached the place, Siddha Samadhi took some water in his hand, chanted the mantras, sprinkled it on the head of the dead body, and immediately the father came back to life and he sat up. Now the king, no, the king who has been brought back to life, he inquires that what is going on, no, and who are you? He looks at Siddha Samadhi and says, "Who are you?" And then the prince has narrated the whole story to his father. So after the king comes to know how he has been brought back to life by Siddha Samadhi, he offered obeisances to him again and again and asked him, "What austerities did you perform to attain such divine powers?" So that time Siddha Samadhi said, what do you think Siddha Samadhi said?
He has chanted 12th chapter.
Exactly. Everybody has become very smart now. So now Siddha Samadhi says that every day I chant the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So then the king learned the 12th chapter from Siddha Samadhi, and in due course of time, both the king and the prince, they attained the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So Lord Shiva is telling to Parvati, many other persons have achieved the topmost goal, devotion to Lord Krishna's lotus feet, by reciting the 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita daily. So what is the connection between chapter 11 and chapter 12? After seeing the universal form, Arjuna's mood is that of awe, reverence, and fear. Now, these emotions are not conducive for his rasa with Krishna, that of friendship, Sakhya, which has place only for love. Arjuna wants to clarify his position as a devotee who works for Krishna as opposed to a jnani who renounces work. So Arjuna wants to make sure that am I on the right track? No, so that uh, there is no mistake that he's making. Is his position as a devotee is superior, or a jnani who renounces work is superior, because Arjuna has not renounced work. What Krishna wants Arjuna to do is renounce the fruit of work, but he wants him to work. He wants him to fight the war. Then another reason, the universal form is only the highest manifestation of the Lord in matter. It is not the highest absolute truth. So remember, the universal form is only a material manifestation. It is not the highest absolute truth. One must not misunderstand that this universal form is the highest absolute truth, because generally the material conception is that which is big is better. So therefore, Arjuna wants to clarify his position as being attached to the personal form of Krishna as superior to the universal form or the unmanifested Brahman. And Arjuna also wants to remove misunderstanding that some people might have, that the awe-inspiring universal form shown in chapter 11 is more significant than Krishna's two-handed form. So this chapter is divided into 3 sections. We will see them as we proceed. Section 1. Let's hear the shlokas.
अथ द्वादशोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमाः.
Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
So this is a very, very crucial question, which is actually a subject matter of debate amongst the philosophers, amongst the transcendentalists, amongst the spiritualists. What is more perfect? What is more perfect? Sagun Sakar or Nirgun Nirakar? Worshipping the Lord as a person, or worshipping the impersonal Brahman effulgence, worshipping or having the faith and worshipping the Lord as a person, or worshipping only the light that is emanating from Krishna's body. So see, there are 2 classes of transcendentalists, personalist and the impersonalist. What does a personalist do? He engages himself with all energy in the service of the Lord. What does an impersonalist do? He engages in meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. So Arjuna wants to clarify who of these 2 classes of transcendentalists is more perfect. It's not that either one of this is bogus or something like that. Both are perfect. But who is more perfect is Arjuna's question. Those who always engage in devotional service, properly engage in devotional service, or the worshippers of the impersonal Brahman effulgence, the unmanifested. This is a very, very crucial question that Arjuna is asking in the beginning of chapter 12. See, remember, we have discussed previously how Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. So this 12th chapter is the final chapter of the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. We discussed how the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita is subtitled as Bhakti section. The middle six chapters are the Bhakti section. So this last chapter of this Bhakti section is the 12th chapter, and it is dealing with pure devotional service. Arjuna wants that this middle 6 chapters, this Bhakti section, ends discussing about pure devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna is asking this very, very crucial question to Krishna in the beginning of this chapter. And Krishna right away very clearly gives his answer in the next verse. Okay, before that, Arjuna's personal experience in the 11th chapter, to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best because. So Arjuna already has personal experience as he himself described in the 11th chapter. What was his experience? That he could understand all the forms at the same time, because see, Arjuna is not an impersonalist. Arjuna is a personalist. And being a personalist, he was able to understand all other forms at the same time. And there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. So it's not that Arjuna does not know. From his own personal experience, he knows that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is the best. So why does Arjuna ask this question? So we have some reasons here. Arjuna has just seen the universal form and now is in the mood of awe and reverence and fear. He is clarifying his position because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna. He is not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. Number 2, to avoid mistaking the universal form as a supreme aspect of the absolute truth. 3, to ensure that all recognize the superiority of bhakti, devotional work, to attain the loving service of Krishna over jnana, the renunciation of work to attain impersonal realization. So he wants to establish the superiority of bhakti. And as we already discussed, Arjuna wants the Bhagavad Gita's middle set of 6 chapters, the set which has emphasized Bhakti Yoga, to conclude with Krishna discussing Bhakti. So now let us see what is Krishna's answer.
श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम् नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेताः ते मे युक्ततमा मताः.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect."
So what is Krishna's answer? Very clearly, no, he is not leaving any scope for any kind of confusion. There is nothing that is confusing or not clear. What does he say? Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So amongst all the transcendentalists, those who fix their minds on the personal form of Krishna and worshipping him with faith, they are considered to be the most perfect. Say Yukta Tamaha. Yukta Tamaha, Krishna says. Yukta Tamaha means the most perfect. Most perfect. Mataha. Mataha means Yukta Tama Yukta Tama means most perfect, and Mataha means in my opinion. Mera mat hai, we say in Hindi. So he says that in my opinion, Krishna's, in my opinion, they are the most perfect of all the transcendentalists. So when we engage in devotional service, when let's say we are cooking for Krishna, we are cleaning for Krishna, we are cleaning the bathrooms for Krishna, we may be sweeping and swabbing the floors, we may be hearing a lecture, we may be listening to a Bhagavatam class, whatever, or we may be serving our families or we may be raising children in Krishna consciousness. By doing all these several painting, singing, dancing, everything can be Krishnaized. So when we engage in devotional service, then automatically we are focusing on Krishna. So by engaging in all this worship with faith, then we are automatically fixing our minds on the personal form of Krishna. And so Krishna says that they are the most perfect. So Krishna very clearly is establishing that Sagun Sakar is higher than Nirgun Nirakar. Closeness unites far more intimately than does oneness. When one merges into the Brahman effulgence, one is one with the Lord. No, one is there, one is existing in the light. But that is not so intimate than being actually close with the person, no, being close with the Lord himself. You can see here in Goloka, when one returns to the spiritual world, Krishna is embracing, no, he's embracing, or he even embraces his Gopa friend, gopis. So there is more intimacy in closeness than there is in oneness. When one is merging into the Brahman effulgence, one just exists in the light, and that is it. So there is not so much intimacy. In fact, there is no intimacy in that relationship. Let's see 3 and 4.
ये त्वक्षरम् अनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम् सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः.
Translation. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me.
So say here in Shloka 3, he is giving some characteristics of impersonal worship. There are 8 characteristics here. We will see them in the next slide. And here in Shloka 4, he is mentioning how one worships the impersonal Brahman. He is giving 3 ways here. So here we have a split up for better understanding. What are the characteristics of impersonal conception of the absolute truth? He says that it is Aksharam, Anirdeshyam, Avyaktam, Sarvatram, Achintyam, Kutastham, Dhruvam, and Achalam. It is beyond sense perception. We cannot perceive it. It is indefinite. There is no end to it. It is unmanifested. It cannot be seen with ordinary eyes. It is all pervading. So there is no place that exists where the Brahman effulgence of the Lord does not exist. It is inconceivable. We cannot understand. It is unchanging. It remains the same. It is fixed and it is immovable. So how to worship the unmanifested? Krishna says, by controlling various senses, by being equally disposed to everyone. One should not play favorites. And by engaging in the welfare for all. So you see here, Krishna is not saying anything negative about Brahman effulgence. He is not saying anything negative about worshipping the Brahman effulgence. He is not saying that it is inferior in these 2 verses 3 and 4. Now he has established the superiority of worshipping the personal form. And here he is describing the characteristics and how to worship the unmanifested. See, there is this book called Surrender Unto Me by Bhurijan Prabhu. If you get it, it'll be very nice. If you can read the Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada and read this side by side, it will help you understand even better. So what does Bhurijan Prabhu write here? Those worshipping the impersonal, Prapnuvanti Mam Eva, certainly achieve Krishna, but only his effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti, his nirvishesha, formless, attributeless, and activityless aspect. So in that Brahma Jyoti, there are no active. Krishna is not displaying any leelas over there. No, there are no attributes, nirvishesha. Or if by good fortune they later come in contact with an exalted devotee, they may accept the personal path and eventually achieve Krishna's service. So say in the Brahman effulgence, one only exists. There is no service that one can render to the Lord. So if such a person, if an impersonalist can come in contact with the exalted devotee, then he may accept the personal path and he may get an upgrade. No, he may advance because of his association, and eventually he can achieve Krishna's service, which is so much more nectarian than just existing in that light. See, destination of different transcendentalists. So this is the material world. We have already discussed how these planets are coming by the breathing of Mahavishnu. And here one universe, here our universe has 14 planetary systems. So this is the inferior energy of Krishna. The material world is Krishna's inferior energy, and the materialist remains in the material world. Now the spiritual world is Krishna's superior energy. And here you have the Brahma Jyoti, and you have the Vaikuntha planets, and you have the Goloka. Now devotees and Paramatma Vadis can go here, depending on what they deserve and what they desire. And the Brahmavadis, those who worship the impersonal Brahman effulgence, then they attain the Brahma Jyoti. So here they exist in the light. So it is spiritual. It is spiritual. It's not that it is a material world. So what one can get in the Brahma Jyoti is peace. One is very, very peaceful here. He is not hassled by the problems of material existence. No birth, no death, no disease, no old age. So in Brahma Jyoti, there is no birth, death, disease, and old age. And one is very, very peaceful, but it stops at that. It stops at that. So at some point, one gets bored just existing in the Brahma Jyoti. So either he will fall down or he can get an upgrade and go to the higher planetary systems. Yeah, Lavina, you have your hand raised. You have a question? You are on mute.
If a person goes to Brahmavadi or Brahmajyoti lok, then that means he'll come back to the material world.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is described that because here you cannot exist eternally. I mean, you can technically, but at some point the person gets bored of, because just imagine if somebody tells you that you are peaceful, you have no problems, but all you should not do anything. Just exist. How long can you do that? Can you do that?
No.
No. So therefore, at some point, a Brahmavadi here, he gets bored, and therefore he comes back. But sometimes he may also be able to get an upgrade by some special arrangement. But most of the time, general rule is that he will come down again because he gets bored, and then again he engages in devotional service. And if he gets the association of devotees, then he can be promoted to the higher planetary systems. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go to 5.
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते.
Translation: For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
See, here Krishna is explaining what is the problem with worshipping the impersonal Brahman. What is the problem? Here Krishna is saying, he is using the word klesha. Klesha. Klesha means it's very, very troublesome. And how troublesome it is, he says, adhikatara. No, adhikatara means very, very much. So it is very, very troublesome to be worshipping the Brahman effulgence. He also uses the word dukham. Dukham means, again he says here, it is the progress here. Now, how the progress one can make by worshipping the Brahman effulgence is very, very troublesome. For whom it is very, very troublesome, Krishna says, for the Deha Vatpir, for the embodied. Embodied means when the spirit soul has a material body, he is considered to be embodied. So for those who are embodied, it is very, very hard, very, very troublesome to progress in the spiritual life if they are worshipping the Brahman effulgence. See, for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Why it is difficult as compared to worshipping the Lord as a person is because it's very hard to focus the mind on nothing. No, in contrast to that, when we worship the Lord as a person, if we have a photo of, we have a deity, we have the deity there, so we can perform so many services to the deity. We offer food to the deity, we can dress the deity, we can see the form of the deity, and like that we can engage in so many other services to the deity. And therefore, it is easier for us to fix our mind on the person rather than fix the mind on void or nothing at all. It's very, very hard. See, if you have even materially, right? We have photos of our of our loved ones in our house. We may have photos of our children or of our parents or people we love or our friends, we carry photos, and when we see the photo, then it gets a smile on our face, no? Then we can recall so many memories or some precious moments that we may have spent with our loved ones. So even on the material platform, when we have a photo, see, yes, people say that God is in my heart. Yes, God is in the heart, no doubt about that. In the same way, our loved ones are there with us. But when we see a picture of our loved ones, then we are immediately reminded of so many intimate moments and so many other things, and we can focus even better. So we can bring more intimacy in our relationship with the Lord by worshiping the Lord as a person in the personal form. That's why Krishna is saying here that for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. See, one may argue here in the previous shloka, where Krishna is saying that, yes, those who fully worship the unmanifested, here he is describing about the worshipping of the unmanifested. We describe here, he is not telling anything negative about worshipping the impersonal Brahman. So here he's saying those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and by being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So one can argue, but well, Krishna is saying that we can achieve him by engaging in the worship of the impersonal Brahman. So what's the problem? The key word here is at last. At last. So it will take more time. It will take more time. Progress is very, very troublesome. Therefore, it is very, very slow. It takes many more, some few millions of lifetimes more to achieve the destination by worshipping the impersonal conception of the absolute truth. So the key word here is at last. Because as Krishna says here, to make progress in that discipline is always difficult. It is especially in Kali Yuga, no? If one sits for meditation, that meditation is very easily broken. There are so many sound vibrations around us that meditation is broken very often, and the mind wanders very, very often. But if we have the deity, then it's easier for us to focus the mind on the deity. See, some important points from the purport we will read. Prabhupada writes in the purport, two groups of transcendentalists are discussed, the Jnana Yogis and the Bhakti Yogis. Jnana Yogis, those who follow the path of inconceivable, unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. Bhakti Yogis are those persons who are in full Krishna consciousness and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Bhakti Yoga versus Jnana Yoga, same goal. Both ultimately bring one to the same goal. So the goal is the same, but there is a difference in the two processes. The process of Jnana Yoga is very troublesome. It is very difficult for him to simply theoretically understand that he is not this body. Whereas on the other hand, the process of Bhakti Yoga is direct. It is a process of being in direct service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yoga accepts the deity as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind, which can thus be applied. Our Shastra actually gives us so much of information. You will not find this information anywhere else in the world. We know what is the color of the skin of the Lord also. We know Krishna is bluish black. We know what he likes to eat. We know what are the names of his friends, his sakhas, his sakhis. What is the instrument that he likes to play? Krishna likes to play the flute. We even know the color of his clothes. Krishna always dresses in golden. Dhoti, you will see Krishna always dressed in golden dhoti and Balaram dressed in blue. So we have every detail of the Lord. Our Shastras are so glorious that we have every detail. This information you will not get anywhere else in the world. You will not get anywhere else in the world. Even if you ask them, give me the name of God, they may not be able to reply. They may use generic terms like Bhagavan, or they may use Paramatma. But who is Bhagavan? Who is Paramatma? That answer they will not be able to give you. That only you come to know when you read glorious scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. So deity worship is not idol worship. Worship may be saguna or nirguna of the Supreme, possessing or not possessing attributes. Possessing means saguna, nirguna means not possessing. Worship of the deity in the temple is saguna worship because the Lord is represented by material qualities. So we are not worshipping stone or wood or metal. We are worshipping God. But that deity, that Lord is represented by material. The deity may be made of wood or metal or stone. But that doesn't mean that we are worshipping wood or metal or stone. We are worshipping God. So the Lord is represented by material qualities. What is the absolute nature of the Lord? The form of the Lord, although represented by material qualities like stone, wood, etc., is not actually material. So Prabhupada gives a very, very nice analogy of deity worship being compared to a mailbox. The deity is the authorized representation of God known as Archa Vigraha. So the worship of the God, the form of the deity, is actually authorized by the scriptures. It is not that somebody somewhere, it occurred to somebody somewhere, okay, I'll make the form of Krishna like this, no, standing with his legs crossed and holding a flute. So people argue, no, the impersonalists, they argue that nobody has seen God. How do you know that God is like this? We know from our glorious scriptures. See, great personalities like Vyasadeva, Narada, they are not going to waste their time writing some fiction. No, Vyasadeva is not going to write fiction and waste his time. Such great personalities, they are Bhagawats. They are not going to write fiction. Whatever they write is authority. So deity worship is the authorized representation of God. The Lord allows us to worship the Murti for our benefit. Because right now we are not qualified to see the Lord with these eyes, no, with material angle of vision, we cannot personally see the Lord face to face. We are not so fortunate. So the Lord, for our benefit, allows us to worship the Murti, who is a representation of the Lord, and we get the same benefit. Whatever seva we do to the deity with faith, we are getting the same benefit as serving the Lord. The Lord actually accepts your service. We have seen so many stories, no, of how the devotees. For example, we saw the story of the Brahman who was only who was poor, but he had the desire to serve the Lord. So he in his mind only he has created many foodstuffs, very nice foodstuffs in order to offer to the Lord. Everything is only going on mentally, no? And then he checks the temperature because we do not offer very hot food to the Lord. The bhoga should not be very, very hot. It should be at a temperature which can be consumed. So he tests the temperature by putting his finger there, and his finger actually got burnt. No, only mentally he was testing the temperature, but actually his finger got burnt. So that shows that the Lord actually accepted his service immediately, is it not? So even when we perform seva to the deity, the Lord accepts that service for our benefit, for our benefit. In South India, in Chennai, there is a deity of Krishna in a temple called Partha Sarathi. There is a Partha Sarathi temple there where the Lord, the deity, has burn marks on the face. And the burn marks are there because once they offered very hot pongal. Pongal is a South Indian preparation. So they offered very, very hot pongal. And the deity took it and the mouth got burnt. So even now, if you see the deity closely, the deity has burn marks on his face. So the Lord, even in the deity form, he accepts our service. So we are not worshipping wood or stone or metal. We are worshipping God. The deity is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord to accept service from the living entities. Now, what is this mailbox comparison? So, Srila Prabhupada explains that just as how if one wants to post a letter, he goes to the post office and there is a post box, or even if there's a post box on the road, which is authorized by the government of the country, you post the letter in the post box, the letter actually reaches the destination. No, why? Because why does the postmaster come and collect those letters from that box? Is because that post box is authorized box authorized by the government of India, wherein the service will be undertaken to deliver the letters. Now, if one person says, okay, this post box is here, I will make the exact same post box, same color, I will paint it red. At least in India, it is red color. So I will paint it red and have it there outside my house, and then I will put my letter there. Will that letter ever get delivered? That letter is
No.
never going to be delivered, isn't it? Why? Because it is not authorized by the government. So if we just imagine some form of the Lord and make a murti, then that is not the authorized representation of the Lord. So even the murtis are made according to what the Shastra says. So those are the authorized representations of those murtis. Those deities are the authorized representations of the Lord. So one cannot make a murti according to what one likes. For example, we've seen some pictures in the past of how Lord Ganesh is dressed as a cricketer. No. So you cannot make these unauthorized murtis and then worship them. That is not authorized. So even those who make murtis, if you see, today we will see the story, if time permits. So those who make murtis also, they have to make the murtis according to what is given in the Shastra. So therefore you will see how Krishna is always depicted in a particular way. Lord Ganesh is depicted in a particular way, no, with the trunk, with the head of an elephant, with the big pot belly. So Ganesh is represented in a certain way. Like that, any deity worship, the deity should be made according to what is authorized in the scriptures. So deity worship, so we explain this deity worship compared to a mailbox. The Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful. Therefore, he can accept the service of the devotee in his Archa Vigraha form. To say that the Lord cannot exist in a murti is like limiting the Lord. There is nothing that God cannot do. So how can you limit the Lord by saying that he cannot exist in this murti? Narasimha Dev even came from a pillar for his devotee Prahlad. So the Lord, he is omnipotent, he is all powerful. So he can accept the services of devotee even in the murti form. And why does he do it? Just to make it convenient for us in our conditioned life. In our conditioned life. For an embodied soul, there is always a difficulty with the unmanifest. So for us, as Krishna says, no, for the embodied soul, there is a difficulty with the unmanifest, both at the time of practice and at the time of realization. Even when we are practicing worship of the impersonal Brahman, there is difficulty because it's very hard. It's impossible actually, especially in Kali Yuga, to focus on the impersonal Brahman. Maybe 1 in a quadrillion can make it. And even in the time of realization, there is difficulty because even if one perfects and one attains the Brahman effulgence, then one is bored there and one falls down. So at the time of practice and at the time of realization, both the times there is difficulty for the embodied soul. Difficulties in the practice for the impersonalists. They have to understand the unmanifested representation of the Supreme. Process is difficult. Example, studying Vedic literatures like Upanishads, learning the language, understanding the non-perceptual feelings, because there is no heart involved. No? When you worship a person, then there are feelings, there are emotions. So therefore, the process here is very, very difficult. In contrast, Krishna consciousness provides simple practice. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are associating with the Lord. Krishna is not different from his name. The name of the Lord and the Lord are not different from each other. When we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, that is our quality time with Krishna. That is our conversation with Krishna. That is the time when we talk to Krishna. Therefore, chanting Hare Krishna is something that we must do in order to advance in our spiritual life. And of course, that has to be under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, simply by offering regulative obeisances unto the deity, hearing the glories of the Lord, eating the remnants of foodstuff offered to the Lord. So Krishna consciousness is basically very, very simple. It's not complicated and is a recommended process, especially for Kali Yuga. What is the difficult in terms of realizations? Impersonalists, they take the risk of practicing difficult path and still do not, realize the absolute truth in the ultimate end. They can realize only the Sat and Chit realizations. A Jnana yogi may come to the point of Bhakti Yoga by the grace of some devotee, but still long practice in impersonalism becomes a source of trouble because he cannot give up this idea. It is against one's real nature. Every living soul is partially independent, and therefore this unmanifested realization is against the nature of his spiritual blissful self. Why it is against the nature? Because remember, originally we were all in the spiritual world. So it is against our nature to worship the unmanifested realization. The personalists have no risks, trouble, or difficulty in approaching the Supreme Lord directly. Complete realization. The personalists, they realize Sat, Chit, and Ananda, all the three features. There is unlimited bliss, Ananda, in personally serving the Lord as a person, which implies even the blissful portion of the absolute truth is realized. If surrender or bhakti is the ultimate goal, then why to take the trouble to understand what is Brahman and what is not Brahman and spend one's whole life in that way when the result is anyway going to be troublesome? So what is the best solution? For every individual living entity, the process of Krishna consciousness, which entails full engagement in devotional service, is the best way. So full engagement in devotional service is what will make the process easy as well as the realization easy. I know I have shown this video before, but let us say it again because it's very beautiful. And His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj explains the science behind deity worship. The science, okay? It's a science. It is not blind faith. Let us try to understand.
God is unlimited and independent. To say he cannot appear in the deity form is to limit him. Legitimate deity worship, according to the Vedas, is a science in which the Lord is called with devotional rites to appear in designated forms. Everything emanates from the Lord. All material elements are the Lord's energy. By his will, he may choose to appear in his own energy as a deity to help us focus our minds and senses in loving servitude. Just as electricity manifests in a light bulb to radiate light, so God can permeate the deity with his presence. Electricity is invisible to the naked eye, and the bulb by itself gives light only when the electrical energy infuses the bulb with its presence. Then we can see and feel the light. In a similar way, the Lord may appear in the tangible form of a deity to help us see and feel his presence and reciprocate with our love.
Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktiupartam ashnami prayatatmanaha.
So we'll see some histories where the deity has actually reciprocated. Krishna says that he reciprocates in proportion to one's surrender. So let us see some stories here. This is the story of Kheer Chor Gopinath. If you travel to Orissa, you can actually go and visit this deity. Srila Madhavendra Puri once visited Remuna in Orissa. During his visit to that place, he went for the darshan of Sri Gopinath deity. Seeing the beautiful image of Lord Gopinath in Remuna, Srila Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed with love and started singing his names and danced for some time in ecstasy. He asked one of Lord Gopinath's Brahmin servants what foods were offered to the deity. The Brahmin answered, in the evening we offer Sri Gopinath 12 bowls of Amrit Keli, a thickened milk preparation that is like the nectar of the gods. It is famous everywhere as Sri Gopinath's Kheer, and no offering anywhere in the world is its equal. As a Brahmin spoke, other servants of Lord Gopinath started to make the Amrit Keli offering to their deity. Srila Puri thought that if he could just get a taste of this preparation, he would be able to one day make it himself and offer it to his own Lord Gopal. However, this thought shamed him, as it is improper to desire the food intended for the Lord. After watching the Aarti ceremony, Srila Madhavendra went outside and sat in the empty marketplace chanting the holy names. In the meantime, the pujari had finished his duties and was taking rest when he had a vision of the deity in a dream telling him, "Get up, open the door. I have put a bowl of Amrit Keli Kheer aside for the sannyasi. It is hidden behind the pleats of my dress. You did not see me put it there because of my power, Maya. The sannyasi, whose name is Madhava Puri, is sitting in the marketplace. Quickly take this kheer to him." So just see, Madhavendra Puri, he developed a desire to taste that kheer, not for his own sense gratification, no, but so that by tasting it, he will be able to understand how he can prepare that to offer it to the deity that he is worshipping. So that was his desire. The intention counts. So his intention was not wrong. His intention was, I want to taste it so that I can prepare it for the Lord. But still he felt ashamed, because if one mentally also thinks, mentally enjoys that food stuff, then one is making it juta mentally, no? So he says that it is inappropriate. So the Lord, what the Lord did, he actually stole that kheer for Madhavendra Puri. That's why he is called as Kheer Chor Gopinath. Now the deity is called Kheer Chor Gopinath. So let's see what happens next. The pujari was startled by the dream and immediately got up. He bathed, opened the door of the altar, and found a bowl of the kheer behind the deity's cloth, just as he had been told. He took the bowl and went to find Srila Madhavendra Puri. He wandered through the market shouting, "I have kheer here for Madhavendra Puri. Lord Gopinath has stolen it for you. Take it and eat it with joy, for there is no person as fortunate as you in the three worlds." When Srila Madhavendra Puri heard the pujari shouting in this way, he approached him and identified himself. The pujari gave him the kheer and then fell at his feet. He recounted the whole story to Srila Madhavendra, who respectfully ate the prasad, and then, after washing the clay bowl, broke it into many small pieces and wrapped them up in his outer garment. Each day thereafter, he would eat a piece of the clay bowl and once again feel the same ecstatic love. Knowing that word of this miracle would spread by morning, Srila Madhavendra Puri became fearful of the celebrity that would inevitably befall him and the crowd of people that would then surround him. So he paid his obeisances to Lord Gopinath and left for Puri before dawn. So see how the deity has reciprocated with the desire of Madhavendra Puri. The deity actually stole a pot of kheer so that he can give it to Madhavendra Puri. So this is the deity of Kheer Chor Gopinath. This is the Amrit Keli, which is even today offered in that temple to the Lord. This is a Samadhi of Madhavendra Puri. And here you can see the footprints of him. So if you happen to visit this temple, you can have the darshan of the Lord of Madhavendra Puri and also honor this Amrit Keli Prasad. Then we have this history of Sakshi Gopal, the deity of Sakshi Gopal. Even today you can visit this deity. If you travel from Bhubaneswar to Puri by road, it's on the way, it's in between that road journey, this temple of Sakshi Gopal. So we have discussed the story before, how the deity, how there were two Brahmins, one young and one old. And the older Brahmin was pleased by the service of the younger Brahmin. And the older Brahmin promised the younger Brahmin that I will give my daughter to you in marriage. But then later, because of other family members did not agree, therefore then later he refused. And he said that he never made any such promise. So that, and this promise was made before this deity, the deity of Gopal. At that time, the deity was called Gopal. So then this younger Brahman went to Gopal and he told Gopal that you are the witness that he promised me this. And now you have to tell everybody that, yes, it was in your presence that this promise was made. So that time the deity spoke to him and said that, well, I'm only a murti, I'm only a deity. How can I come with you? So that time the younger Brahman told him that, well, if you can talk, you can also walk. So then the deity agreed, and then everywhere the Brahman went, the deity was following him behind him. And then with the condition that you should not look back. But at some point he looked back, but he had almost reached the village of that older Brahman, and the deity froze over there. And then all the residents of that village, they came and offered obeisances to the deity of Sakshi Gopal. And yes, of course, then the older Brahmin agreed that he made the promise, and then the marriage took place. So even this, you can see how here a deity actually walked and talked for the sake of his devotee. This deity of Tota Gopinath, the deity who sat down to receive the services of his beloved devotee Sri Gadadhar Pandit. If you you can actually visit this place. This is the only sitting deity of Krishna in the world. If you see here, Krishna is cross-legged. Can you see? He's cross-legged here. So this is the only deity of Krishna where he is sitting down. Originally, the deity was standing. How we normally see the deities of Krishna cross-legged standing with a flute in the hand. So Gadadhar Pandit would worship this deity every day. And there was a time when his body became so arched that he was not able to garland the deity. No, he was not able to stretch and garland the deity like before and worship the deity. So he told the deity that from tomorrow onwards I will have somebody else to worship you, because I'm not able to do so because of my arched back. I'm not able to even garland you. I'm not able to dress you nicely. So then next morning, they found the deity in a sitting position. The deity actually sat down in order to facilitate Gadadhar Pandit to continue to worship the deity. That's why this is the only sitting deity in the world. Now, one may argue again that, but anybody can carve a deity of Krishna sitting down. So again, we come back to the same point that deities are made according to the Shastric injunctions. You cannot just carve a deity according to your whims and fancies. So here you have a summarized theme from the purport of the impersonalists versus the personalists. You can go through this when I share this slide in the group. Let's go to 6 and 7.
हेतु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्.
Translation. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pratha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
So see, previously Krishna said that advancement of those who are worshippers of the impersonal Brahman is very troublesome. He uses the word klesha and dukkha. No, advancement is very, very troublesome. And he also said previously that they at last achieve me. So it takes many, many more births. But here Krishna is saying, those who worship me, here he is glorifying the worshippers of the personal feature of the Lord. So he's saying, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, so pure devotional service, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha. For them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So here, Krishna says that he is the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So when we engage in pure bhakti, then Krishna takes control. He personally takes control of the life of his devotee. Now, no more he is under the dictates of material nature, no, because Krishna is personally taking control of his devotee. And therefore, Krishna says, for such people, he is a swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So Krishna delivers his unalloyed devotee from the ocean of birth and death. You can see here. So this person here represents the jiva, us, who are in this ocean of birth and death. If when one is in the middle of a ocean, even a very expert swimmer will not be able to swim and go to the shore, no? So the Lord, you can see, he is coming and he's stretching out because he personally takes control of the devotee. So here there is a personal relationship coming in because he is a worshipper of the personal feature of the Lord. So the Lord personally comes and he extends his hand, and the devotee also, he extends his hand and he just lifts him up. So here you can see there is no difficulty for this devotee. He just has to hold on to the hand of the Lord, and he will be lifted without any difficulty. So Krishna says that those who worship me without deviation, those who engage in devotional service, for them, he is a swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So these are some of the points from the purport. This also you can read when I share the slides in the group. See the story of Gajendra from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Gajendra's leg was caught by this crocodile, and for a very long time, he was not able to make the crocodile remove his leg, no, or open up the jaw. And then Gajendra, with time, Gajendra was losing his strength. And because Gajendra in his previous lifetime, he was a devotee, therefore now in the elephant's body, he remembered the prayers when he was in that distressful situation, and he recited those prayers. And then the Lord came immediately. See, after understanding the awkward condition of Gajendra, who had offered his prayers, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who lives everywhere, appeared with the demigods who were offering prayers to him. Carrying his disc and other weapons, he appeared there on the back of his carrier Garuda and with great speed, according to his desire. So see, he came with great speed. No, Krishna says that he's a swift deliverer. So even here you can see how he has appeared in great speed according to his desire. Thus he appeared before Gajendra. Now Gajendra also at that time, what did he do? If you see, if you read this story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can go to your 8th canto and read this on your Veda base. As soon as Gajendra saw the Lord coming on Garuda, he did not tell, oh yes, you have come now, please help me, save my life, get this crocodile away from my foot. That's not what Gajendra did. What Gajendra did, his immediate thought was, how can I serve the Lord? What can I do in this condition? So he plucked a lotus. So he's at this water, and there are lotuses there in the water. So he takes this lotus and immediately he offers to the Lord. So the mentality of a devotee is, how can I serve the Lord in whatever condition of life one is in? No, a devotee wants to always serve the Lord despite all disturbances, all inconveniences. The devotee wants to serve the Lord. So even Gajendra, you can see his leg is actually bleeding there. He's in so much pain. And when the Lord appears, immediately his thought was, okay, how can I serve him? So he takes this, in that condition, what can he do? So he says, okay, I'm going to offer him a flower. So he takes this lotus and he offers it to the Lord. So this is what a devotee does. This is how he thinks. This is how his consciousness is. So this you can read when I share the slides, because we already discussed it. And eventually the Lord then uses a Sudarshan Chakra and he kills the crocodile and he saves Gajendra. And then they come out in their original forms. You can see Gajendra, he comes back as King Indradyumna. And this is who was also cursed in the previous lifetime. You can see all the Devatas also have gathered. You can see Lord Shiva is there, Lord Brahma is there. So even the Devatas had gathered at that time. A devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Lord himself. Krishna says he's a swift deliverer. So the responsibility is taken by the Lord himself. A devotee does not have to do anything else. So carrying a baby the monkey way or the cat way. See, the baby monkey is holding on to the mother on its own strength. Yes, you can see the mother is not holding on to the baby. But here, the mother cat is holding on to the kitten. Now, which of these two babies you think is more secure?
The kitten, the cat.
The cat.
This. Why? Because the mother will never let go of her child, isn't it? But this baby here, this baby monkey is so small, has very less strength, and with that less strength, he is trying to hold on to the mother. So there is a possibility that he will fall. So devotees are like this. Devotees are like this. Krishna personally takes care of his devotees. So we are like this. So we have no strength, no, we have no qualification. But our only qualification is, yes, we are depending on the mercy of Krishna. So Krishna will not let you fall down. Once you take to Krishna consciousness, you cannot come out of it. You cannot come out of it. Even if you try, you cannot come out of it because Krishna has now personally taken control and he will not let you go. He will not let you go. The mother cat will never let go of her kitten. But here, the Jnana yogis, they are trying to achieve the Lord on the strength of their own advancement. So they are, because they don't believe that God is a person. So they are there trying to advance on their own strength. So they are represented here by this monkey. So this is for us to decide which way you want, the monkey way or the cat way. So this actually example is given by Srila Prabhupada. One morning, Prabhupada arrived in the park, stepped out of his car, and waited for the devotees who had come in another car to join him. Leelavati had difficulty getting out of the car because she had her baby Subhadra in a carrier on her back. When she finally did get out of the car, Prabhupada turned and laughed at her, saying, "Ah, the burden of affection." "Yes, Swamiji," Leelavati replied. They all began to walk together along the path. "So there are two ways to carry a baby," Prabhupada said, tapping his cane on the ground in time with his regular stride. "There is the monkey way and the cat way. Do you know this?" "No, Swamiji," said Leelavati. "Well, which way do you think is better?" Prabhupada asked her, "the monkey way or the cat way?" She couldn't understand or imagine what he meant. Prabhupada continued, "The monkey baby climbs on the back of the mother and holds on, and this is the way he travels. And the kitten is carried in the teeth of the mother. So, which is better?" Leelavati still could not understand which way could be better. They both sounded very difficult to her. "Well," Prabhupada said, "the monkey baby is very small and very weak, and he is holding on to the mother by his own strength. But the kitten is being supported by the strength of the mother. So which way do you think is better?" And then she understood. "The cat way is better." "Yes," Prabhupada said, "that is the difference between the yogi and the devotee. The yogi is trying to climb on the back of the absolute truth by his own strength, but he is very weak and so he will fall. But a devotee, he cries out for Krishna." And as he spoke the word Krishna, Prabhupada held his arms up high and looked up at the clear morning sky. A devotee cries out for Krishna and Krishna picks him up. So a devotee does not have to engage in Ashtanga yoga and try to elevate the consciousness from the lower chakra to the upper chakras, which is so difficult. It takes so many lifetimes to perfect. A devotee does not have to do all that. A devotee just cries out for Krishna and Krishna picks him. Ocean represents our present material existence, which is an ocean of mercy. Though we can struggle against the waves of life's miseries for some time, the relentlessness of the waves eventually drains us. We need help. Where we seek help determines our destiny. The straw represents material solutions like money, power, and contacts. Why the straw? Because everything material is temporary. Even the material things that promise protection, nothing material can offer lasting relief. Expecting it to save us is like expecting a straw to save a drowning man. So we may make some material adjustments. No, we think that our money will save us, our wealth can make our life comfortable, or one may go for beauty treatments and one wants to reverse the aging process. So one may try to find some temporary relief, just as how this man is holding on to the straw. But for how long will he be able to even hold on to that straw? So material solutions are not permanent solutions. So what we need is not a straw, but a lifeline, a lifeline. Lifeline represents the process of devotional service. The Bhagavad Gita indicates that through this process, we attract Krishna's grace, which delivers us from material existence. So here, when somebody is going to throw this lifeline, at us, we just hold on to this and then we can come to the shore. So we need permanent solutions to material problems. We cannot solve our material problems with material solutions because that is only temporary. So when we do what we can do, Krishna helps us to do what we cannot do. So this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramananda Rai is quoting from Padyavali. The translation is, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lifetimes. So you cannot get pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness even by doing punya karmas for hundreds and thousands of lifetimes. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is intense greed to obtain it. So we should have that intense greed that I want pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So that greed should be there. That desire, that intense desire should be there to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay, he says. One must purchase it without delay. But of course, we cannot go to a store and purchase it with money. So we have to have the desire, intense greed. When that is your only desire, you will see how Krishna reciprocates. Remember, Krishna is Maha Yogeshwar. So even an impossible task can be made possible when we desire, when we have the sincere desire and we work towards it. Then Krishna makes mission impossible, mission unstoppable. See, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, he's the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And he says, do not give up devotional service, even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. Do not become disheartened that most people in this world do not accept the message of unalloyed devotional service. Never give up your devotional service and hearing and chanting about Krishna, which is your everything. Always chant the holy name, becoming more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. So it doesn't matter if there are a lot of dangers, insults, endless harassment. Even if people insult you, people may think that you are foolish. People may think you are stupid. People may think that you are being brainwashed. Sometimes when we go with Japamala on the road, people think that, oh, how foolish, how stupid. How can you do this on the road? But it does not matter. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that, do not give up devotional service, even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. Even if people make fun of you, even if there is a threat, even then, never give up your devotional service. Because somebody else may think that you are foolish, but you know what you are doing. And that's what matters. That's what matters. What matters is what Krishna thinks about you. It does not matter what the whole world may think about you. That's not important. So here is a summary. And then in the next class, if Krishna so sanctions, we will proceed to section number 2. What is the time? Okay. So we don't have the time to discuss about the appearance of the Narsimha deity in Sri Mayapur Dham. I wanted to actually go through that. It's a very, very fascinating story of how Lord Narsimha Dev was installed in our temple in Sri Mayapur Dham. But maybe for the next class. Okay, we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
श्रीनम माता जी की जय, जय जय पताका महाराज की जय. थैंक यू माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. जय श्री
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, can I ask you a question on the test, on the chapter 11 test?
Yes.
One of the question I got wrong was the computer problem. It changed my answer.
The computer changed your answer?
Yeah, because I noted down on the Veda base chapter 11 thing. The answer was last to the first one. all the way to the bottom, the last answer, and it was one on the above, and my answer got wrong. Like it became the last one, but it wasn't the last time. You know how you click on something and then it clicks, like when you're scrolling down.
Yeah, so what happens is when we are using the device and we use our it's touch technology, no? So sometimes we happen to touch in the wrong thing, and so computer will not change your answer. How will the computer change your answer? It so happens that by mistake we touch at the wrong spot and the answer gets changed. It's not the
No,
computer changing your
I
answer.
get that part. I knew the answer and I got it wrong because the system changed my answer. I made the right answer, and then when I was checking my answers, maybe it changed the answer because clicking on it or whatever. But what I wanted to ask is, can I get that one or no? Because it's just
Okay,
one.
let me check formatives. Let me check
Yes,
that. I'll check it on Monday because I have a
yes,
program today. I'm busy in this weekend.
yes.
But by Monday I will check and I'll get back to you on this. Is that
Thank you,
okay?
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Kirti Lata?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, you said about cleaning, doing household works also we can Krishnaize. So how to do that? Can you please tell more on that?
Yeah, so what is your mentality when you're cleaning your house? Your mentality is this house, I'm cleaning. See, even your apartment you can use for Krishna conscious activities. You can use it as a home to receive Vaishnavas or to do some small programs, or you can invite Brahmanas, Vaishnavas to your house. So like that, when you clean your house, you think that, okay, this is Krishna's property and I have to maintain it clean for the pleasure of also my, your family members, no? Your family members are also Vaishnavas. Your husband, you told me, is an initiated devotee, isn't it? So your mentality is that a clean environment is something that's going to be pleasing to a Vaishnava, because Vaishnava wants things to be clean. And also the deity, if you have deities in your house and you're worshiping deities, for the sake of the deity, you want to keep the deity in a clean house. So with the mentality that I want to keep this house clean for the pleasure of the Lord whom I'm worshiping in my house, and also for the pleasure of my family members who are Vaishnavas, with that mentality, when you do your housework, then you're even Krishnaizing that activity.
Okay. And Mataji, one more thing is, you said we have to take some service in the temple, one regular service. So how it is different from the activities like which we do in home? Like if we consider this also as service and that also as service.
No, I didn't say that you have to take a service in the temple. Okay, the thing is, according to your time, place, and circumstances. If your circumstances permit that you can take up some fixed seva in the temple, then that is very nice. But if your circumstances do not allow you to go to the temple, maybe it's very far from your house, or you have a small child and you cannot leave the house, or whatever responsibilities you may have, you can try to do any seva. Sometimes there are people who do some online services, maybe translating or transcribing some classes, something that you can do online, or you can use your house to make it like a bhakti center where you can invite people, you can do a program in your house, you can preach. So any fixed service you need to have, not necessarily at the temple. If you are in a situation where you cannot do the seva in the temple, you can do from whatever your time, place, and circumstances permit, but some fixed seva it's important to have.
Okay. Mataji, one last question. This Sakshi Gopal story, the Brahmana invites the deity to walk, na? So what was the purpose behind? Because I forgot this story, and because devotees doesn't use the Lord for their own personal uh, service or motivation. So what was the purpose to call the deity to walk?
No, because as I said, the elder Brahman was breaking his promise. So the promise was being broken, and his problem was that why is the promise that is made in front of the deity being broken? That was his desire, was not that I want to marry that girl. His thing was that how can a promise that is being made in front of the deity be broken? So he wanted that the Brahman sticks to the vow that he has taken. That was his mentality. Does that answer your question?
But it's also said that we should not use Lord for our own personal this thing, no? So he wanted to show to show the message that whatever promises we take in front of deity, it should not be broken. That was the
Yeah, it
message.
has to be respected because there is a certain standard, like how we behave in front of the deity. So if you make a promise in front of the deity and then the promise is broken and then nothing is done about it, then that is again he wants to show that deity is actually a person, is not just stone that you can make a vow in front of a stone and then get away with it. So by actually making the deity walk so that the vow is fulfilled, he's showing the world that how the deity is a person. The Lord is actually residing in the deity, and how the vow that you take in front of a deity should be taken with all seriousness. It's not a joke.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just want to clear my doubt with this point. As he promised the other Brahmin in front of the deity, so which means that he cannot break this promise. But is it that this point would apply for our day-to-day life? Or is it because it was only in front of the deity?
In our day-to-day life also, when we make a vow, no, we should try and fulfill the vow. We should, because a devotee doesn't want to speak lies. No, if you're making a vow and then you're not fulfilling it, of course, it doesn't speak very greatly about your character. But even more so when it is in front of a deity. Even in our day-to-day life, a devotee wants to apply it, but even more when it is in front of a deity.
Okay, so that's the maximum point, is that in front of a deity,
It is
whatever
very
you say.
serious matter. Yeah, it is it is a crime to break the vow, but it is a more serious crime to break a vow that you make in front of the deity, or even in front of the Vaishnavas, or
Thank
in
you.
front of the, because even when we get married, we say no, there is a fire, there is a yagya, and we say Agni ko sakshi man ke, we make these vows. So it's more serious crime if the vows are broken after they are made in front of the deity, in front of the Vaishnavas, in front of the devotees, a Brahman, like that.
Okay, I think this point about the marriage and in front of the Havan that we take our vows, this point really made it very clear.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Adarsh, your hand is raised.
Hare Krishna, ma'am. One question. If one reaches Brahman effulgence, and once he reaches there, if he is very lucky, then he'll come in contact with a devotee you mentioned, to reach further to the spiritual world. But
Okay.
if the devotee, how will the devotee come there? Because the devotee directly reaches the spiritual world.
Okay. So, see, you have to understand that a preacher can go even to hell to preach and get the fallen conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. All the people who are even walking on this planet, they are not here because they deserve to be, of course, they deserve to be in the spiritual world, but they do not desire to be in the spiritual world, or the Lord has sent them on a particular mission to preach and reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. So see, there is one shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says that bhakti is sarvatra sarvada. Sarvatra sarvada means there is no restriction of time, place, or circumstances. There is no restriction. Bhakti can be practiced anywhere, anytime, any place, by anyone, under any circumstances. So that applies even to Brahma Jyoti. There is no restriction there also.
Like Narada Muni, messenger might some.
Yeah, yes. Narada Muni, yes, he's a celestial spaceman. He can travel to any part of the world. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else we need to discuss?
Hare Krishna, can I add 1 minute, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. Mataji, we should not doubt from because of our last birth karma, we get the association of senior Vaishnava. उनकी पोस्ट बहुत हाई होती है. हम लोग जब लाखों लोगों को मिलते हैं, इसमें से 1000 लोग सुनने को आते हैं कृष्ण कथा, और 1000 में से 100 उनको फॉलो करते हैं, और 100 में से 10 और 10 में से 1 उसको स्ट्रिक्टली फॉलो करते हैं. तो it is our last birth karma that we get the association of Vaishnava. We are very grateful to them, and they are, उनकी रोज की साधना होती है. ऐसे ही हमें उनकी जो वाणी होती है इसकी इफेक्ट नहीं आती है. गुरु महाराज का ब्लेसिंग होता है, उनकी जो रोज की 2 घंटे की साधना होती है, उनका रीडिंग होता है. दैट्स व्हाई वॉट एवर दे स्पीक, इट्स इफेक्ट टू अस एंड आवर फैमिली मेंबर ऑल्सो हियर. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. श्री माता जी, श्री प्रभुपाद, श्री गुरुदेव की जय, गोपीनाथ की जय. Thank you for
Right.
your sincere seva, Radhe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, thank you for reminding us that devotee association is so crucial, no, so important. One in the, as you said, out of so many people, one finally can make it because of our past life karma. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us, Mataji. Jai. All glories to you.
All Guru Shru Jai Patang Maharaj. Guru साधु एंड शास्त्र का ज्ञान हमें जी सिनम माता जी देते हैं, तो we are very grateful to her. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम माता जी. जय श्री प्रभुपाद.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. I'm only trying, and by mercy of Guru, something I'm able to do. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, anything else we need to discuss? Okay, then, since there are no more
Mataji,
questions.
can I ask one general question?
Yes.
That tulasi we offer to the Lord, and also flowers we offer. Now, after offering, it will be what we should do with that?
You can consume it.
Flowers?
Oh, flowers. The flowers you can put it in a river or in the beach, or you can dig it in the ground and you can put it there. But it should not go to the dustbin.
Okay. So, what if the beach and all is far away?
You can keep it
माता
in
जी
a
आपके
bag. You can collect it in a bag, and whenever you go, you can just take all of it together and you can put it in the water.
आपके पीछे जो होता है, वो जो एक झाड़ के नीचे आप सब कलेक्ट करके माता जी, फिर आप जब भी जाए मंदिर में या फिर कोई भी छोटा सा पॉन्ड है उसमें रख सकते हैं माता जी. और डिगिंग करके अभी तो आप अपने पॉट्स में भी रख सकते हैं. डिगिंग करके डाल देना, वो ही ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा. तुलसी
Yeah.
महारानी को रीयूज भी कर सकते हैं ऑफरिंग के लिए.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you cannot put it in the water, then you dig it in the ground and put it. That you can do anywhere, right? You either bury it or you put it in the water.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then. See you all next week if Krishna so sanctions. Till then, have a nice weekend and a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.